Greetings and welcome. You're tuned into TMH's Daily English News. The headlines for today: worrying reports have come out of many detained Tigrayan members of the Ethiopian army in the Somali region have been poisoned. The OLA demands an independent probe into the massacres that happened in the beginning of the month, and Sudan accuses Ethiopia of executing 7 Sudanese soldiers and a civilian, threatened to retaliate as well. As we move on to our main updates, the worrying reports coming out from the Somali region, where many detained Tigrayan members of the Ethiopian army are seriously sick from drinking poisoned water. The Tigrayan members of the Ethiopian army who are locked up at the concentration camps in Gerbessa, which is near Jijjiga in Ethiopia's Somali region, are said to be intentionally poisoned. And according to the information of distress from some of the detainees, those poisoned have so far not received any medical help, and that some are actually feared to be dead as well. Thousands of Tigrayan members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force thrown behind bars by the Abiy Ahmed government following the outbreak of the Tigray war have been suffering in concentration camps till this day, and some have died as a result of extreme conditions of what these detentions offer as well. As we move on to our next update, nearly 39,000 animals have died within the Tigray region due to the lack of vaccines as well as drugs. And according to Tigray Emergency Coordination Center's operational update, which you can see on your screen, over 241,000 animals in the region got sick, out of which nearly 39,000 of them, or at least 16%, have already died. Disease prevention and control activities in Tigray are limited because of lack of vaccines and drugs, and diseases caused by rabies, worms, external parasites, among others, continue poisoning and posing problems to livestock and affecting the lives and livelihood of farmers as well. In the current rainy season, bacterial diseases outbreak is expected to increase, and according to the update, livestock drugs, vaccines, and poultry feeds are not available locally. And as of the 23rd of June, food partners urgently require around 240,000 liters of fuel, or to dispatch 775 trucks loads of common food baskets for around 1,840,000 people. Due to fuel scarcity, food partners have been forced to scale down or even temporarily suspend dispatch and distribution since mid-June. The Tigrayan community in Montreal, Canada, have urged the Canadian government to stop funding the Ethiopian regime. The Tigrayan diaspora in Montreal made the call during a 13th session of the Subcommittee on International Human Rights of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development of Canada's House of Commons. The Tigrayan diaspora said Ethiopia's Abiy Ahmed government is using aid money to commit genocide against the people of Tigray. Let's take a listen.
Stop funding Ethiopian government as aid money is being used to commit genocide on the people of Tigray. Second, support the independent investigation initiated by the United Nations Human Rights Commission team on the crimes against humanity, war crimes, gender-based violence, genocide, and ethnic cleansing committed on the people of Tigray. Third, to call the war on Tigray for what it is, and that is genocide. Fourth, to call for the immediate lift of the blockade and end the siege on Tigray. Fifth, to support our immigration proposal and provide immigration access to Tigrayans that are suffering in refugee camps and currently stateless around the world. Specifically in the Sudan, there are more than 60,000 who are really in that kind of situation. Sixth, pressure the Ethiopian government to release Tigrayans living outside of Tigray region who are suffering, dying in detention center and concentration camps. And last one is, we request meetings with the Honorable Melanie Joly, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Right Honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And thank you.
We need to ask the Canadian government to urge the Ethiopian government to immediately facilitate safe and sustained and unhindered access to humanitarian access in all parts of Tigray. The SDIR should ask for the government of Canada to urge the Ethiopian government to immediately restore basic services, including banking, communications, and electricity to Tigray, and to impose a comprehensive arms embargo on Ethiopia and Eritrea that covers the direct and indirect supply, sale, and transfer, including transit and transshipments of all weapons, ammunition, and military equipment.
Members of Canada's subcommittee appreciated the Tigrayan community in Canada for their clear presentation and their sensible recommendations on what the Canadian government should in fact do to use and avoid the humanitarian aid as a weapon of war. Let's take a listen.
Your outlining of the concerns of your community, the concerns of what is happening in Tigray has been really phenomenal, and your community should be very, very proud of the way you're representing them. It's really impressive, and thank you for that. Thank you for being so clear. I have so many notes, and I know exactly what the next steps need to be because of your testimony. We need to seriously look at Canada's bilateral aid to Ethiopia. We know that that Ethiopia is one of our biggest recipients of bilateral aid. In 2021, I wrote to Minister Gould at the time and told her that we needed to stop sending humanitarian aid to Ethiopia until we could guarantee that that aid was being used for all citizens. Like that is fundamental. That if the aid is not being used to solve the crisis, and it is in fact, as you say, being used to fuel the crisis, then that is a very, very severe problem. The other one is the example of the sexual violence. When you tell me those stories of the sexual violence being perpetrated on Tigrayan women, I know myself, I know my colleagues, we get goosebumps. It is horrifying to hear that this is happening to women around the world.
Representatives of the Tigrayan diaspora in Montreal noted that Canada's lucrative Tigray mining deals that had just entered with the Ethiopian government could in fact be tied to its inaction on the gross human rights abuses taking place within the Tigray region as well. Tigray opposition parties have called for an all-inclusive dialogue between Tigray and Ethiopia, and the three opposition political parties, Salsai Wayana Tigray, National Congress of Great Tigray, and the Tigray Independence Party, noted that the effort for peace has in fact reached a stage of direct negotiation, which is, according to them, a quite significant stage in the process. The parties expressed their serious reservations in the way the international community is handling these negotiations, and they also claim that TPLF does not represent the real wishes and aspirations of people on Tigray, adding that it does not have the legal mandate to carry out negotiations on the behalf of the people of Tigray. They said that TPLF has refused to accept their request for a transparent and all-inclusive approach for negotiations on behalf of Tigray, but besides that, they expressed serious doubt on the capacity of the TPLF as regards to securing the Tigrayan interest. They said trying to achieve a peaceful resolution of war on Tigray and taking the TPLF as the sole representative of the Tigrayan people may cause but not bring absolute sustainable peace. Despite our repeated calls to address the issues, the international community appears to have chosen to engage with the TPLF alone in all of its overtures until now, as the press release noted. The three Tigrayan opposition parties called on the international community to work towards an all-inclusive dialogue between Tigray and Ethiopia so as to bring about the desired peace, but commenting on the joint presser, member of the executive committee of TPLF, Getachew Reda, reminded that the parties that the people of Tigray elected their representatives about 2 years ago, referring to the legal mandate of which is the TPLF. In the comments, he also wrote on social media saying Getachew added 6 months back that chairperson of TPLF, Debretsion ገብረሚካኤል, and the chairpersons of Tigray's three opposition political parties agrees to work together, but the opposition leaders were opposed to having their signatures recorded by media. He also noted that there are frequent meetings that involve the leaders of the oppositions and the Tigrayan government leaders, disclosing one such meeting was scheduled for last week, but the opposition leaders did not show up before the meeting at the end. OLA demands independent probe into the massacres taking place on the 22nd of June. The Oromo Liberation Army calls for an independent probe into mass killings in the west of the country. Oda Taribi, who's the spokesman for the OLA, said on Twitter that the Ethiopian authorities cannot be trusted to hold an impartial investigation. The federal government and the regional authorities in Oromia have blamed the OLA for the massacres in the village of Tolle, and the OLA on its part has also blamed a pro-government militia within the Oromia region. There are several atrocities that have warranted investigations in the last 4 years, yet to this day we have heard nothing. What we are needed and what is needed are independent investigations by a third party, as AP quoted Oda Taribi saying in a statement. UN Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet on Thursday urged the Ethiopian authorities to conduct prompt, impartial, thorough investigations into the attacks that happened last weekend in the Oromia region that have reportedly claimed the lives of hundreds of people, which were mostly ethnic Amhara. Our final update for today, Sudan has accused of executing 7 Sudanese prisoners and soldiers, as well as civilians included in this murder. A Sudanese armed force, in a statement on Sunday, accused Ethiopia's army of 7 Sudanese soldiers and a civilian who were captive to be presumed dead. It also blamed the Ethiopian of displaying the bodies of the executed people to the public and vowed that there would be an appropriate response. This treacherous act will not pass without a response, is said. There was no immediate response from the Ethiopian government or authorities to the request for comment. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.